As you know, the Eurogroup today will discuss the fiscal guidance that we approved last week to provide orientation for member states' fiscal policies for next year. As you know, we are in an overall situation which is less negative than expected. We had a good recovery after the pandemic, and we were able to manage the impact of the war and of energy prices. But the situation will remain with subdued growth, high inflation, and on the positive with a strong labor market. In this environment, we call member states for prudent fiscal policies, also through the phasing out of the universal measures in support of energy prices. We call for protecting investments, especially strategic investments, both national and at European level. So this is the mix that in our guidance we provide and that we will discuss today, among other things.
Commissioner, in some European countries, inflation is getting higher again. In Austria and Hungary, does this threaten Europe's economy?
Well, inflation is, as we estimated in our last forecast, declining in the headline inflation, but still quite persistent in the core inflation. So at the moment we see what we had in our estimates. Of course, it is a matter of concern, the fact that we have very different level of inflation among European countries, and especially in the eastern part of Europe and in the Baltic countries, we have still very, very high level of inflation. And this is also one of the reasons why we are calling for prudent fiscal policies.
Commissioner, are you concerned about contagion from the Silicon Valley Bank in Europe?
Well, we don't see a specific risk of contagion. Of course, we are monitoring the situation in close contact with the ECB. We appreciate, we take note of the initiative taken by the U.S. authorities to avoid in U.S. a contagion. And also we stress the fact that European banks, all European banks, not only the bigger are applying the prudential Basel standard. So directly there is no contagion. The possibility of indirect impact is something that we have to monitor, but at the moment we don't see it as a significant risk.
Mr. Gentiloni, you say you don't see contagion, but when you look at what's happening in markets, European banks are really all down today. In some countries like Italy, you had even limit down at one point. What's your message perhaps to investors? Let's take a breather, cool down, and look at the fundamentals?
Well, I think that an impact in remuneration of banks was to be estimated, it was predictable. But this is one thing. Assessing the fact that there is a real risk of contagion is a different thing. I don't think we have a real risk of contagion at the moment in Europe. Thank you.